Welcome to our deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be exploring the human brain
Okay.
as seen through the eyes of a neurosurgeon.
Sounds good.
We're unpacking Dr. Rahul Jandial's book, Life Lessons, from a brain surgeon to kind of extract some key insights about this incredible organ.
Awesome.
And don't worry, we'll be skipping the complicated medical jargon.
Right.
You know, we want to make sure you can really understand the core takeaways.
Accessible to everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's fascinating how Dr. Jandial's journey began.
Okay.
You know, he actually started med school really disliking anatomy.
Oh, really?
Especially the idea of dissecting a brain.
Wow.
He even compared it to like disturbing something sacred.
That's so interesting. So what shifted his perspective?
He talks about this moment where he observed a live brain
Oh, wow.
during surgery for the first time.
Okay.
And how that experience like completely changed his thinking.
Hmm.
He compared heart surgery to working on a car engine.
Okay.
Because it's very mechanical. Oh.
But the brain, he realized, is where the essence of a person, like, resides.
Yeah, that makes you think about the profound responsibility that brain surgeons have.
Absolutely.
To better grasp this complex organ.
Yeah.
Can we delve into some basic brain anatomy?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the big picture.
Okay.
The brain is organized into lobes,
Right.
each of them handling specific functions.
Right.
So, for example, the frontal lobe,
Mm-hmm.
located right behind your forehead,
Okay.
that's crucial for, like, all of our uniquely human traits,
Okay.
like planning and making decisions and managing emotions.
So does that mean someone struggling with impulsive behavior could potentially have an issue with their frontal lobe?
Well, you can't, like, oversimplify it,
Right.
but the frontal lobe does play a significant role
Sure.
in regulating those impulses.
Yeah.
If its function is impaired, it can definitely affect a person's self-control.
That's really insightful. What about other parts of the brain?
Sure. So another key area is the cerebellum.
Which is found at the back of the brain.
Okay.
It's kind of like this constant editor for both our physical movements and our thought processes.
Okay.
So it helps refine and smooth out our actions.
So it's like a personal trainer,
That's a great analogy, yeah.
helping us improve both physically and mentally.
Yeah, it really highlights the fact that the brain isn't isolated in our heads.
Right.
It's intricately connected to our entire body through this extensive network of nerves.
Wow.
And this connection allows the brain to influence everything.
Okay.
From like our heartbeat to our digestion to how we experience the world through our senses.
That intricate connection is so fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
It kind of leads us to the concept of memory.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Jandial discusses how memory isn't just limited to,
Right.
complex brains like ours.
Yeah.
He points out that even single-celled organisms like E. coli exhibit a form of memory.
It's amazing,
Right.
right?
It challenges what we think memory even means.
They utilize what's called an area-restricted search to find food.
Okay.
They'll thoroughly explore like a small area before moving on to a new one.
So is that similar to how, like, we might search for our lost keys
Exactly.
by methodically checking each room?
Yes.
Yeah.
And research from Memory and Cognition Journal
Okay.
found that individuals who are considered more intelligent, they tend to excel at this categorization process. So they'll break down mental searches into categories,
Okay.
which allows them to be more systematic and efficient.
So having a good memory isn't just about remembering random things,
Right.
but also having an effective strategy
Exactly.
for storing and retrieving information.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And this leads us to another key point that Dr. Jandial emphasizes.
Okay.
Success.
Yeah.
It's not just about IQ.
Right.
It's about these other crucial brain traits.
Totally.
One of these traits is emotional intelligence, which is rooted in, you guessed it, the frontal lobe.
Exactly.
So given its location in the frontal lobe,
Right.
would damage to that area affect a person's social skills
Absolutely.
and their ability to understand and manage emotions?
Yeah. It can have a huge impact.
Okay.
Damage to the frontal lobe can lead to difficulties in recognizing social cues and responding appropriately to them.
Okay.
And it can also impair a person's ability to regulate their own emotions.
So are there people who have achieved great success without being known for their emotional intelligence?
Absolutely. Think of someone like Steve Jobs.
Right.
He was brilliant and innovative.
Yeah.
But not exactly known for his empathy.
So emotional intelligence isn't the only factor. What else contributes to success?
Well, Dr. Jandial dives into the concept of grit and determination.
Okay.
He highlights Angela Duckworth's research,
Right.
which shows that hard work and perseverance often play a bigger role
Oh, wow.
in success than like pure talent. There's also a growing body of evidence suggesting that this grit may be tied to neural activity in the prefrontal cortex,
Okay.
that area that's involved in planning and decision making.
So it seems like our brains can be wired for perseverance.
Yeah.
Can we train ourselves to be more determined?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And one that researchers are really trying to figure out right now.
Okay.
There's a growing body of research focusing on the role of deliberate practice
Okay.
in shaping our brains.
Mm.
Dr. Jandial cites K. Anders Ericsson's work, which shows that even people with average memories
Oh, wow.
can train themselves to recall like extensive amounts of information.
Really?
Things like long strings of numbers through focused and consistent practice.
That's incredible. It's like unlocking a hidden potential within our brain.
I know. It's really amazing.
If deliberate practice can lead to such remarkable changes, what does that mean for how we approach learning and skill development in general?
It really challenges the idea that we're limited by our innate abilities.
Okay.
With focused effort and the right strategies, it seems like we can push our brains to achieve remarkable things.
That's an empowering thought.
It is.
It suggests that while natural talent may play a role, consistent effort and the right approach to learning can make a huge difference in what we can achieve.
Right, and it opens up all these exciting possibilities for personal growth and development.
Before we delve into other fascinating aspects of Dr. Jandial's book, maybe we can take a quick look at some popular beliefs about boosting brain power.
Okay.
Are there any magic tricks to enhance our cognitive abilities, or is it mostly hype?
There's definitely a lot of hype out there.
Yeah.
And one of the first myths Dr. Jandial tackles is this idea that we have a dominant side of our brain that determines our abilities.
Yeah, left brain, right brain.
Exactly. Yeah. We've all heard about the left brain being logical, the right brain being creative.
Right.
Turns out it's an oversimplification.
So are you saying that trying to activate my creative side by engaging in supposedly right-brained activities isn't really effective?
It's not that simple.
Okay.
While different brain regions are specialized for certain functions, creativity doesn't reside in just one hemisphere.
Okay.
Scientists using fMRI technology, which lets them observe brain activity in real time.
Wow.
They've discovered that creativity emerges from the coordinated activity of the entire brain.
So instead of being a solo performance, by one side of the brain, it's more like a symphony.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the whole orchestra.
Working together.
To generate new ideas.
Yeah. And speaking of creative inspiration.
Okay.
Dr. Jandial shares a personal technique that he uses to boost his own creative thinking.
All right.
He makes a point to review complex surgical cases right before sleep. Oh, so it's like priming your brain.
Exactly.
To work on a problem subconsciously while you sleep.
Yeah, and he links this to Salvador Dali's concept of sleeping without sleeping.
Interesting.
That state between wakefulness and sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Where our minds are more open to like
right.
unexpected connections and insights. So
yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if there are other techniques we could use to tap into that creative space.
I agree.
Of course, no discussion of brain power would be complete without mentioning smart drugs and substances that claim to enhance cognitive function.
Right.
So Dr. Jandial begins by discussing the two most common ones.
Okay.
Caffeine and alcohol.
Makes sense.
They're so widely used, but also come with potential downsides.
Sure.
We all know how a cup of coffee can sharpen our focus, but does that glass of wine really help unlock creativity, or is that just wishful thinking?
Well, there is some evidence that moderate alcohol consumption might loosen inhibitions and make us more open to new ideas, but Dr. Jandial cautions against overdoing it. Yeah. The negative effects of excessive alcohol use on the brain are undeniable.
Yeah, that so-called creative buzz from alcohol can quickly turn into a brain fog if you have one too many drinks.
Exactly.
What about caffeine? Does it actually make us smarter?
Well, the research on caffeine's effects on cognitive function is kind of mixed.
Yep.
One study found that while people felt more alert after consuming caffeine, it didn't actually translate into improved performance on cognitive tests.
Really?
But then another study found that coffee consumption led to enhancements in planning,
Okay.
creative thinking, and memory.
So it seems like the jury's still out on whether caffeine is a true cognitive enhancer,
Yeah,
but it definitely makes us feel more focused and alert.
absolutely.
Now let's venture into a bit more controversial territory and talk about some other substances that affect the brain.
Okay.
Dr. Jandial covers both cocaine and marijuana,
Right.
each having a complex history and impact on brain function.
Definitely.
It's important to recognize that even substances that might have some medicinal benefits can be highly addictive and destructive.
Absolutely.
It's a good point. When it comes to any substance that affects the brain, we need to carefully weigh the potential benefits
Right.
against the very real risks involved.
Yeah.
And speaking of substances with both risks and benefits,
Yeah.
maybe we should discuss nicotine.
That's a good one.
It kind of flies under the radar a little bit.
It does.
Dr. Jandial even experimented with nicotine patches to understand its effects firsthand.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
what did he discover?
Well, he found that the focus-enhancing effects of nicotine lasted much longer than caffeine,
Oh, wow.
but without the jitters.
Oh, okay.
However, he emphasizes the highly addictive nature of nicotine
Right.
and the significant long-term health risks that are associated with its use.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even substances that are legal can have powerful and potentially harmful effects on our brains. Before we dive too deep into the realm of drugs,
Okay.
maybe we should shift gears to something a bit more universal and essential. Sleep.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's something that even brainless jellyfish seem to require.
Really?
It's such a fundamental aspect of life,
Yeah.
but it's also shrouded in mystery.
Yeah. Why do we sacrifice wakefulness?
Exactly.
Which seems essential for survival,
Right.
for this vulnerable state of sleep.
Yeah, it's a great question.
It makes you wonder about the critical role sleep plays
Absolutely.
in keeping us alive and functioning.
Yeah.
So one of the key functions of sleep is memory consolidation.
Right.
During sleep, our brains take those short-term memories that we've acquired throughout the day and transfer them into long-term storage.
It's like the ultimate filing system,
Yeah, it really is.
organizing and storing memories for future retrieval.
But it's not just about filing.
Right.
Our brains are also actively deleting unnecessary memories during sleep,
That's right.
clearing out the clutter,
Taking out the garbage. Yeah.
and making room for new information.
Yeah.
What about dreams? Does Dr. Jandial offer any insights into why we dream?
Well, he acknowledges Freud's theories about dream interpretation, but makes it clear that, those ideas haven't really held up scientifically.
Okay.
So while we still don't fully understand why we dream,
Yeah,
they certainly add to the intrigue surrounding sleep.
they do.
Yeah.
It seems like dreams remain one of the most fascinating
Yeah.
and elusive aspects of our brain activity.
Absolutely.
We may not know why we dream, but we definitely know we need sleep.
We do.
How much is enough?
That's the question.
Dr. Jandial shared his personal experience as a surgical resident,
Right.
Having to pull all-nighters
Yeah.
and work these incredibly long hours.
Yeah.
He acknowledges the dangers of sleep deprivation,
Oh, yeah.
especially for someone making, life or death decisions in surgery.
Right.
He even talks about how medical training has shifted in recent years, limiting resident work hours to reduce errors caused by fatigue.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder that getting enough sleep is crucial, not just for doctors, but for everyone.
It's for all of us.
Essential for our physical and mental well-being.
Yeah.
Can have a significant impact on our decision-making abilities.
Huge.
And speaking of sleep, let's debunk a common myth right now.
Yeah.
You can't catch up on sleep.
You can't.
You can't. Dr. Jandial emphasizes the lasting effects of sleep debt
Right.
and points out that getting fragmented sleep
Oh, yeah.
can be even worse than getting no sleep at all.
Absolutely.
He even mentions that there are times when he prefers to stay awake all night
Wow.
rather than risk a few hours of interrupted sleep before a long surgery.
That's dedication.
He really is. It makes you appreciate the physical and mental demands of his profession.
For sure.
Before we conclude this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
let's touch on another essential aspect of brain health. Breathing.
Oh, okay.
Seems so basic.
Yeah.
Yet, Dr. Jandial reveals
I know.
some surprising connections between our breath and our brains.
It's amazing.
He shares this powerful case study
Okay.
about a teenager named JT
All right.
who was experiencing such severe panic attacks that they led to temporary paralysis.
Wow.
It turned out that mindful breathing techniques provided JT with some relief.
That's incredible.
So it's more than just calming the mind.
Right.
There's an actual physiological effect on the nervous system
Yeah.
through breathing.
Absolutely.
Dr. Jandial explains how the vagus nerve,
Okay.
which helps regulate our stress response,
Right.
can be directly influenced by breathing techniques.
That's right.
And it gets even more interesting when you look at the research.
Okay.
Scientists using invasive EEGs,
Wow.
which means they placed electrodes directly into the brain, were able to study the effects of controlled breathing.
Okay.
They found that it synchronized brain activity,
Interesting.
suggesting a neurological basis for the calming effects
Yeah.
of mindful breathing practices.
Really cool.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It shows how something as simple as our breath can have such a profound impact totally on our brains.
Agreed.
And on that note, we'll take a pause here, but don't go anywhere because we're just getting started.
Stay tuned.
When we come back, we'll delve into the aging brain, explore the remarkable power of neuroplasticity, and step into the mind-blowing world of brain implants.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to our exploration of the brain. When we left off, we were talking about that amazing connection between our breath and our brain.
It really is fascinating.
Now let's tackle a topic that's on many people's minds.
Yeah.
Aging.
Okay.
Is it true that our brains inevitably decline as we get older?
Well, that's a common concern, and Dr. Jandial addresses it head on.
Okay.
He starts by telling us about Dr. Bernstein, a 91-year-old physician who, despite having noticeable brain atrophy,
So that means shrinkage.
yeah, shrinkage, he was still incredibly sharp mentally.
So that suggests that it's not necessarily all downhill after a certain age.
Exactly. Brain shrinkage doesn't always correlate with cognitive decline.
Okay.
However, he does explain that certain types of memory,
Okay.
particularly working memory,
Right.
tend to be more affected by aging.
So working memory is that mental juggling act we do to hold information in our minds, right?
Right.
Like when we're trying to remember a phone number while we dial it.
Precisely as we age, those mental juggling skills might not be as sharp,
Okay.
which can make certain everyday tasks a bit more challenging.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
But here's the encouraging part. Aging also brings some positive changes to the brain.
Really, like what does wisdom increase with age?
Well, Dr. Jandial highlights research by Dr. Dilip Jest, who studies the neurobiology of wisdom,
Okay.
and he suggests that older adults might actually have an edge when it comes to well-being and emotional stability. So perhaps those senior moments are balanced out by a greater sense of peace and perspective.
That's a reassuring thought.
It is.
It seems like the brain continues to evolve throughout our lives, even in our later years.
That's right.
What else can we do to support brain health as we age?
Well, Dr. Jandial stresses the importance of social engagement for older adults,
Like,
especially in today's world where online connections can combat isolation and help keep those brains active. It's like cross-training for your brain. Stay social, challenge yourself mentally, and of course, take care of your physical health.
Speaking of physical health, I've heard that there's a strong link between the health of our hearts and the health of our brains.
You're absolutely right. What's good for your heart is good for your brain.
Okay.
They're not separate.
Right.
And this underscores the importance of, those healthy habits we're always told to follow.
Right.
They're paying off in more ways than one.
Now let's dive into something truly mind-blowing. Neuroplasticity.
Okay.
Can you tell us about this remarkable ability of the brain to rewire itself?
Sure.
It sounds almost like science fiction.
It does.
Is it really possible for the brain to change and adapt so dramatically?
Well, Dr. Jandial illustrates this concept with a powerful story about a young girl named Jennifer who had severe epilepsy.
Okay.
And she underwent a procedure called a hemispherectomy.
Wait, is hemispherectomy? Do you mean they removed half of her brain?
It sounds radical, but it's sometimes the only option for certain types of epilepsy that don't respond to other treatments.
Wow.
And Jennifer's recovery was remarkable.
Really?
She regained most of her function, which demonstrates just how adaptable the brain can be.
It's amazing.
It is.
That story completely shatters the idea that our brains are hardwired and fixed from birth.
Exactly. Dr. Jandial emphasizes that our brains are constantly changing, adapting, and even reinventing themselves throughout our lives.
Wow.
Neurons can take on new roles, forming new connections and pathways.
So we have the power to shape and change our brains throughout our lives.
You got it.
That's an incredibly empowering thought.
It is.
But are there any limits to this plasticity?
There are limits, and Dr. Jandial highlights a case study that illustrates this.
Okay.
It involves a blind woman who had relied on reading Braille and lost that ability after experiencing a stroke.
Oh, wow.
So even with its incredible adaptability, the brain can't always fully recover from certain types of damage.
That's a good reminder that we need to protect our brains,
Absolutely.
both from physical injuries and from unhealthy habits that can damage brain cells over time.
Totally agree.
Now, are you ready to step into the future of brain science?
I'm ready.
Let's talk about the bionic brain, implants, interfaces, and the potential to enhance our cognitive abilities.
That's where things get really interesting.
It does sound futuristic.
It is. Dr. Jandial takes us back to some early experiments by Dr. Jose Delgado,
Okay.
who used electrical stimulation to control animal behavior.
Wow.
He could even make a charging bull stop in its tracks by using a remote control.
That's incredible. It's a bit unsettling too, though.
Yeah, no.
The idea that we can control brain activity with technology is both fascinating and a little frightening.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, those early experiments paved the way for modern brain implants,
All right.
like deep brain stimulation, which is being used to treat conditions like Parkinson's disease, essential tremor, and even OCD.
It's amazing how far we've come.
It is. Dr. Jandial shares a case study about a patient named Raymond who underwent DBS for severe OCD.
Right.
So this technology is already being used to help people with debilitating conditions.
It is, and it's making a real difference in their lives.
But I imagine there are also ethical considerations when it comes to using brain implants.
Of course.
Where do we draw the line between treating a medical condition and enhancing our abilities?
That's a crucial question, and one that becomes even more complex when we consider the potential for using brain implants for memory enhancement.
Right. Okay, so there's actual research being done on that.
There is, and there's promising research in this area, with one study by Michael J. Kahana showing that stimulating specific brain regions can actually improve recall.
That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Imagine being able to boost your memory with a brain implant. It would revolutionize education and learning.
I can see that.
But I can also see how it could raise concerns about fairness and accessibility. Would everyone have access to this technology, or would it create a divide between those who can afford it and those who can't?
Those are important questions to consider.
Hmm.
And then there's Elon Musk's Neuralink,
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
which aims to create brain-computer interfaces.
So is mental telepathy really on the horizon?
Well, Dr. Jandial tempers the hype surrounding Neuralink and other brain-computer interfaces.
Okay.
While there has been some progress in brain-to-brain communication, it's currently incredibly slow and complex.
So we might want to hold off on sending those telepathic messages for now.
Probably a good idea.
Okay, so maybe telepathy is still a ways off.
Yeah.
But it's incredible to think about the possibilities that these emerging technologies hold.
It really is mind-boggling.
Before we move on, I'd like to touch on another treatment that's often surrounded by controversy.
Yeah, okay.
Electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT.
Right.
It has pretty dark history. But Dr. Jandial presents a different perspective on its effectiveness.
He shares a powerful story about a woman named Mrs. Chang who was experiencing severe bipolar disorder and catatonia.
Wow.
She was unresponsive to medication, and ECT turned out to be the only thing that helped her.
It sounds like a last resort.
It often is.
But it's a reminder that even treatments with a controversial past can be life-saving for some people.
Absolutely.
Dr. Jandial explains that the way ECT is administered today is much different from how it was portrayed in movies like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
It's a carefully controlled procedure that can potentially reset abnormal brain oscillations.
That's right.
It's a powerful reminder that we're still learning about the brain and how to treat its complexities.
For sure.
Now let's shift our focus to another fascinating area of research. Neural stem cells.
Okay.
They hold so much promise for treating brain disorders, but there's also a lot of hype and misinformation surrounding them.
There is. Dr. Jandial starts by sharing his own experience at a stem cell clinic in Panama, where he witnessed firsthand the ethical concerns and lack of scientific rigor surrounding these standalone clinics. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of seeking out miracle cures outside of legitimate medical research.
So it sounds like stem cell tourism is something to be wary of.
Absolutely. It's crucial to be cautious and informed when it comes to any medical treatment, especially those involving stem cells.
Right.
But while there are clinics making unsubstantiated claims, there's also legitimate groundbreaking research being done with neural stem cells.
Okay.
Dr. Jandial highlights Dr. Gage's research, which proved that the adult brain can actually generate new neurons
Wow.
thanks to neural stem cells.
So our brains are even more adaptable than we thought.
They really are.
What are the potential implications of this discovery for treating brain disorders?
Well, Dr. Jandial points to promising research being done on using neural stem cells to treat blindness.
Wow.
He cites a study by Dr. Huberman who successfully restored vision in blind mice.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It offers a glimmer of hope for people with conditions that were once considered untreatable.
It does, and it really underscores the fact that the field of neuroscience is constantly evolving, leading to new and exciting possibilities for understanding and healing the brain.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's transition from the lab back to the realities of everyday life,
Okay.
particularly the challenges and rewards of raising children.
Okay.
Dr. Jandial shares valuable insights from his personal experience raising 3 sons.
Oh, wow.
He offers evidence-based advice for parents, drawing on his expertise as a neurosurgeon to guide them in nurturing young brains.
Welcome back. We've covered so much ground already.
We have, from the basic workings of the brain to the frontiers of neuroscience.
Yeah, and we delved into the ethical considerations surrounding emerging technologies like brain implants.
Right, some really thought-provoking stuff.
It's clear that as we unlock more secrets about the brain, we're also confronted with some profound questions
Absolutely.
about what it means to be human.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of profound questions,
Okay.
Dr. Jandial kind of takes us in an unexpected direction in the final chapters of his book.
Really?
He shifts from that high-tech world of neuroscience to something much more personal.
Interesting.
His experience as a father raising 3 sons.
Okay.
He offers this unique perspective on parenting, drawing on his expertise as a neurosurgeon to provide
Yeah.
evidence-based advice for nurturing young brains.
That's cool. I'm curious to hear what he has to say about that.
Me too. What kind of insights does he offer?
Well, one of the first things he addresses is this widespread anxiety about technology
Right.
and its impact on young minds.
Screen time.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually challenges the notion that technology is inherently harmful to children's brains.
Okay.
Instead, he emphasizes the importance of moderation and
Right.
focuses on the type of content kids are consuming.
Okay.
So he sees mindless scrolling and passive consumption as detrimental,
Okay.
while educational games, creative apps, and interactive content can be beneficial.
So it's not about demonizing all technology,
Right.
but rather being mindful of how it's being used,
Exactly.
encouraging healthy tech habits,
Yeah.
guiding kids towards those enriching digital experiences.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And he's a big proponent of unstructured free play,
Okay.
allowing kids the freedom to explore, take risks, and use their imaginations.
Yeah.
He pushes back against the trend of overscheduling children with structured activities.
It's true. Kids these days have such busy schedules.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if we've kind of lost sight of the value of that unstructured playtime
Mm-hmm.
in our efforts to give kids every advantage.
Right.
Is he suggesting we ditch the organized sports and music lessons and let them build forts in the living room instead?
Well, he's advocating for a balance, of course.
Okay.
Structured activities have their place.
Yeah.
But Dr. Jandial stresses the importance of allowing kids the time and space for open-ended exploration and creative play. He believes that these types of experiences are crucial for developing problem-solving skills,
Oh, wow.
fostering resilience, nurturing a sense of wonder and curiosity.
It makes sense, those moments of unstructured play, when kids are free to follow their own curiosity and experiment without the pressure of adult direction.
Right.
That's often when the most creative and meaningful learning takes place.
I agree.
What other insights does Dr. Jandial offer about creating that supportive environment for brain development?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of fostering a calm and stable home environment.
Okay.
He suggests that a predictable routine and clear expectations can help reduce stress and anxiety for children,
Right.
allowing their brains to focus on learning and exploration rather than worrying about what might happen next.
So when kids feel safe and secure in their environment,
Yeah,
they're more likely to be open to those new experiences,
right.
engage in creative play.
Absolutely.
It's also interesting to consider how our own behaviors as parents
Yeah,
can influence our children's brain development.
for sure.
Dr. Jandial touches on that as well.
Okay,
He encourages parents to model the behaviors they want to see in their children.
that makes sense.
Yeah, he believes that demonstrating curiosity, a love of learning, and healthy coping mechanisms
Hmm.
can have a profound impact on shaping those young minds.
So we're not just teaching our children through our words,
Right.
but also through our actions.
What we do often speaks louder than what we say.
Exactly. And it's not just about modeling positive behaviors.
Right.
Dr. Jandial also acknowledges the importance of being open and honest with our children
Mm,
about our own struggles and imperfections.
okay.
He believes that sharing our own challenges and how we overcome them can teach kids valuable lessons about resilience and perseverance.
Yeah, it normalizes the ups and downs of life
Right.
and helps kids understand that everyone faces challenges.
Yeah.
It also shows them that it's okay to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
that making mistakes is a natural part of learning and growing. Speaking of learning and growing, Dr. Jandial shares his own personal story.
Okay.
As a teenager,
All right.
he describes himself as a bit of a rebel
Oh, really?
who even dropped out of college to explore the world
Wow.
before eventually finding his way back to academia,
Okay.
driven by this newfound passion
Mm-hmm.
for understanding the human brain.
That's pretty cool.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most unconventional paths
Yeah.
can lead to the most fulfilling destinations.
I like that.
It highlights the importance of following our own curiosity and interests,
Mm-hmm.
even if they take us off the beaten path.
Absolutely.
It seems like Dr. Jandial's book offers not just insights into the brain,
Yeah,
but also inspiration for living a more meaningful and purposeful life.
I agree.
As we reach the end of our deep dive into Dr. Jandial's life lessons from a brain surgeon,
Okay.
what are some of the most important takeaways that stand out to you?
Well, for me, one of the most powerful messages is the incredible resilience and adaptability of the human brain. From recovering from major surgeries to rewiring itself through learning and experience,
Right.
our brains possess this remarkable ability to change and adapt.
Throughout our lives.
Yeah, throughout our lives. I think
Yeah.
that's so important to remember.
I agree. And I think those insights about nurturing young brains are incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Dr. Jandial's emphasis on creating a calm and supportive environment, encouraging unstructured play modeling, positive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
It offers like a roadmap for parents who want to help their children thrive.
A really valuable resource.
It is. And perhaps the most inspiring takeaway is that message of hope that permeates the entire book.
Right.
While we can't control every aspect of our brains or our lives,
Right.
we can make choices that support our well-being and allow our brains to function at their best.
Well said.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the complexities of the brain alongside Dr. Jandial.
He really has.
It's clear we still have much to learn about this amazing organ.
Yeah, but the insights we've gleaned from this deep dive offer a fascinating glimpse into the inner workings of our minds
Yeah.
and the boundless potential that lies within each of us.
This deep dive has certainly sparked my curiosity to learn more
Me too.
about the brain and the incredible possibilities that lie ahead.
Yeah, what about you? What insights resonated most strongly with you?
I'm really intrigued by the idea that simple things like breathing and sleep can have such a profound impact on our brain health.
That is fascinating.
It makes you realize that taking care of our basic needs
Yeah,
is essential for optimal brain function.
absolutely.
As we wrap up this episode, I encourage all of our listeners to continue exploring the fascinating world of the brain.
It's a journey worth taking.
It is. Whether you delve into scientific research experiment with mindfulness techniques or simply engage in stimulating conversations about neuroscience, keep those neural pathways firing.
Keep those brains buzzing
Until next time, happy brain boosting.
and happy exploring.